Hi friends, it's Jordan here, and I'm making a short video because I had something happen today, and interestingly enough, what I had happen today was the topic of a long conversation that Juliana from Hope the Wild Burrow Place and I had yesterday about owning livestock and about kind of like what it takes to own livestock, and the responsibility of owning livestock. So I'll share what happened. So I went outside to feed lunch today, and I have three animals. I have Sophie, my older mare, and then two burros, Teddy and Rita. And I put their hay out. They all have their certain spots where they go. And my male burro, Teddy, went over and started eating Sophie's food. And this has kind of happened before. And typically I don't intervene, but today I did because I'm trying to save some money on hay. And so I'm feeding the burros Bermuda, and I'm feeding Sophie teff hay. And Sophie is allergic to Bermuda. So, I don't want him running her off her food and her going to eat their food. Fair enough. So I walked over there. And for context, Sophie only has one eye, and sometimes Teddy can intimidate her. Teddy is a male donkey who is gelded late, who has some kind of trauma and PTSD, and he's kind of intense. I adore him, but he's kind of intense. So I walked over there and I said to him, "Get away from Sophie's food." In a horse language or donkey language, "Get away from Sophie's food." And he said no. And I said, "I'm serious, dude, get away from Sophie's food." And I kind of, I clapped my hands and used my body language and kind of chased him off. And he moved away, but in the process, he kicked out at me. He didn't kick me. He was far enough away, but he kicked out at me, which is the equivalent of flipping another herd member the bird. That's what he did. And so at that point, I kind of tried to chase him off some more, but I could only be as effective as I could be. I didn't have anything in my hands. I didn't have a rope or anything. So I went ahead and walked away. And he knew I was not happy with him. And when I got up to the gate of my pasture, I turned around and he was back eating Sophie's food. So at this point, I grabbed a halter off my gate and I walked back down there. And the only halters I use are double diamond halters, and they have a 12-foot parachute cord lead rope with a leather popper on the end. And I really like these halters for a number of reasons. It makes me feel safer. I feel like they're more effective. You can do some groundwork with them in a way that you can't with the halters with the clip lead rope. So those are just some of the reasons. So I walked down there and I asked him again, "Get away from Sophie's food." And he said, "I don't want to." And so I took the end of my lead rope and I popped him on the butt, and it didn't hurt him, but I got my point across, and he loped across my property and went over to his food, and he didn't come back again. And so I'm bringing this up for 2 or 3 reasons. The first one is, as people who make the decision to own livestock, we have to get in there and we have to have the grit to be firm with our animals. And we have to be able to do it in a way that they understand. So we have to have good timing so that they understand why we're disciplining them or responding to them the way that we do. We have to do it firm enough to get our point across. Otherwise, we're just nagging them. And that actually makes a dull and resentful animal. And third, we have to, I think, just have enough self-confidence in ourselves to know that those kinds of behaviors are just not acceptable. And, as women, I think that we can err on the side of being less assertive. I think sometimes men can be more assertive and err on the side of being harsh. And one of my teachers is Buck Brannaman, so I'll quote him here. He always says, "You have to learn to be firm without being harsh." And I think there's real opportunity for us as female livestock owners to learn how to do that. And the other piece is, if we don't do this, and I want to make a really clear distinction. I'm not talking about ignoring an animal that's clearly in pain. This scenario, my donkey was not in pain. He was just saying, screw you. I don't want to leave this food that I like better than my food. If your animal's in pain, that's a different scenario, but often we don't set firm enough boundaries and reinforce them consistently enough. So then we create spoiled animals. And guess what, folks? The buck has to stop with someone. It's going to stop with your horseshoer. It's going to stop with your vet. It's going to stop with a trainer. And I'm not saying don't get help if you don't know how to do this. That is really good if you don't know how to do this. But when we take on the responsibility of owning livestock, it means that it's not all hugs and kisses and unicorns. It's taking care of animals in extreme heat, extreme cold, inclement weather. It's setting a boundary. Like, I was trying to go get acupuncture. Did I really want to have like this exchange with my donkey right before my acupuncture appointment? Not really. But if I had not done that, that would set a precedent. And you don't want a disrespectful donkey, horse, dog, pig. I have a potbelly pig who sometimes is disrespectful, and I have to be like, that doesn't cut it. So, long story, wrap up of my soapbox. If you don't know how to do this, get help. But if you don't want to do this, then I would say you need to reconsider whether or not it's appropriate for you to own livestock, which might be unpopular opinion. I'll get a lot of like thumbs down on this, but it needs to be said because it's an important part of owning livestock. It's an important part of the responsibility to like raise them upright and make them comfortable and respectful and safe because guess what? They live in a human world. So thank you for listening and hope you have a good night or a good weekend.